On the 5th, the previous day of 6th of August, all night we heard the air raid warning. As soon as hearing air raid warning, and we dashed to the shelter which my father made. Those days, each houses had to make shelter in the garden or in the city area, under the house. They dug a hole and made a shelter. And then we rushed into the shelter. But soon, warning was cleared. And then again tried to sleep. But again, another air raid warning we heard. And then we dashed into the shelter. All night, such situation was continued. And then my mom said, "Oh, I don't want to go into the shelter anymore," she said. "I'd rather might be shot in my house," she said. And the father scolded, "You should survive. We have to go into the shelter," my father said. That was the previous night. And then on the 6th, that time, my brother, elder brother, one of elder brothers, he left home as one of mobilized students to break down houses, to help demolish the house, debris, to carry debris to other places. And the other one, he was evacuated to mountain area. So because of that, on that morning I remember that my elder brother left already, and I was preparing to go to school, and the father was preparing to leave home because he had to go to the center of the city. And but that morning, according to what he said, everything was not going well, and he had a kind of precaution or something. Something might happen, he thought. And he said, "Keiko, you shouldn't go to school," my father said. And I said, "Why? I want to go to school because other girls, my classmates are already gone to school." And my father, "You should stay here. Something might happen," he said. Then I was reluctant, and I was alone on the road. But all of a sudden, 8:15, all of a sudden I sensed in the flight a brilliant flash, and surrounded by flash, and I was blown away and beaten on the road, and with blast, severe blast. I couldn't breathe. because of the pieces of debris, small debris, and sand mingling with the sand, and the soot attacked me. For a while, I was unconscious. And when I came to, and I found out myself in a silence, tranquility, and I couldn't hear anything in the darkness. But all of a sudden, I heard my little brothers and crying. So hearing that, oh, my house must be this direction, and then by and by, I could see dimly, I could see where my house was, and then I went to, I returned to my home, and I found out my house was so messy, and what made me surprised was 1,000 of pieces of glass stuck into the wall, and pillars, pilates, and everywhere was just messy. I didn't know what happened to. We thought our small area, town area, was a target, and and my house was messy, and as if after a tornado or something. And I saw that my little brother and sister, they were bleeding, one from head, one from hand, but their wounds were not so severe. But then I didn't know what happened. But on the way to my home, and as soon as I sensed flash, some of the touched house started to burn near my house. Then I think, well, how about the other places? Are there many other places burning? I was wondering, and I stepped out to my house. Then all of a sudden, black rain started to fall, and my white blouse, I found out many dots on it. Then I couldn't understand what kind of rain that was, and I touched, and oh, that was the sticky charcoal gray color rain. Then because it started to rain, I couldn't help go back to my house. But my house, there was no way to step in the rest. Everything was thrown away and damaged badly. And so my mother, everybody were gathering, and are you okay? Are you okay? But fortunately, my sister and brother, they were the other side behind, to the north part of the house. They were not hurt badly. But my father, he was such a lucky person because he was between widely opened glass door. If he were behind the glass door, he might be hurt so much. But he was just between the glass, and then in front of him there was a huge pine tree, about 200 years old, and the other side of the pine tree bark was burnt. That means facing toward the hypocenter, but he was protected by that big pine tree because he was this side, and then he was okay. We were surprised, and as a little girl, I wanted to see outside of the house. Until that, I didn't know what to do outside. I experienced falling black rain, and I saw part of the thatched house was burning. But again, whole the city, I wanted to see outside. And then step out of my house. And then went to the road and found out I encountered a quiet long row of the people fleeing from the city. First, I sensed the smell, burnt hair of bad smell. What's this? I thought first. And then I found out a quiet marching. They were stretching their arms. And then at first I thought they were wearing rag and something, clothes. But that was not clothes. Some of the hanging down things were their skin hanging down because showing their red flesh and afraid of touching their body and to prevent to feel the aches, pain. They were stretching. Most of them were stretching their hands, like this. And I couldn't understand what happened to them. Their faces are all so dirty with the soot and the sands, and then hair was burnt and had some, dust or pieces of debris and so on. But quiet marching I saw. But still, as a girl, I wanted to see the city. I started to go to climb up the stone steps up to the shrine. Near my house, there was a Shinto shrine, and so later I found out that that shrine was nominated as the first aid station. The people fleeing from the city and knew that that was shrine area was the first aid station. Because of that, that marching was heading to the shrine. But I didn't know that time, and what I wanted to do was climb up to those stone steps leading to the shrine, and from the higher place I want to see the whole city. And then I ignored, even though there was a march and so dying people or badly wounded people, but I started to walk up to the shrine stone steps. All of a sudden, somebody caught my ankle, and I was stopped by somebody. And then I looked down and found out on the road there were dying people or wounded people squatting and lying, not only a march. So many people were already there on the road. And then one person that squeezing my, touching my ankle and said, give me water. And as soon as hearing water, and the rest of the people started to say, water, 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 give me water and something. Then, they want to drink water. Then I went home again to get the water. But that time, water system was already broken or didn't work. But there was a well, and then I drew water from the well. and I brought to those people, and then some drank and thanked me, but to my surprise, one or two persons, as soon as drinking water from my hand and vomiting, and then with agony face expression, and died in front of me. And then I was surprised and I felt so guilty. At first I thought, is there any poison in it? And then that is the start. I had a trauma of giving water without consciousness. But so in spite of those people drinking water died, rest of the people wanted to get the water so much. And the next day, on the 7th morning, then again I climbed up the hill and then saw the sea. But when I climbed up the stone steps, there were still victims, some alive, some were dying. But I didn't give water at that time because they were asking for water so much. That evening my father said, listen to me, didn't you give water to the dying people or severely wounded people? My father asked me. So my brother says that we know that, we learned that, he said. But I was shocked, I didn't know that. Oh, I give water and some died after drinking water from me. I am a bad girl, I thought. And since then, that I made it, what I did was my secret. And then I didn't tell this story until my father died. I kept as a secret. I didn't tell even my brother and sisters that. That means I wanted to tell what I did, but I kept secret for a long time, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So that means I saw nightmares several times and always full of the depressed feeling why I give water. And then that became my trauma. But for the first time, I thought I met a foreigner, and I thought, I want to say this story. To the foreigner, for the first time, I told what I did. Then, since then, I think my nightmare stopped. So I found out to tell the story is a kind of remedy to cure somebody's the invisible disease, hurts in ourselves, I thought. But anyway, the second day when I climbed up the hill, and I saw the sight was unforgettable sight I saw. That was I live in the north area of the city, and the Seto Inland Sea is the south end of the city. But from the north end, I saw the flattened whole city, nothing left. Only some buildings like the Fukuya department store those days, and the Chugoku local newspaper, Chugoku Shimbun we call, Chugoku Shimbun building. I could see, and some small buildings, major buildings were left as like skeleton. Concrete buildings were left. Sea, and then nothing left. The city and some small building. Some smaller building, smoke I think was coming up, not the center part, the edge, some little flames of smokes were coming up. But anyway, to my surprise, she seemed to be so near where I was, as if I could walk within 10 minutes walk or so. I felt like this. And I saw Ninoshima Island, the sea, and the devastated sea. This is very similar to tsunami, after tsunami in north area of Japan. So after tsunami, and that big tsunami, and I recalled the site so many times. Well, as one of survivors, to tell our experience is very difficult. In a way, we have to have courage to speak out. Many survivors kept our experience, what we saw and did, as a secret. Me too. Only recently I started to tell, because this is one of the worst part of atomic bomb. Nuclear weapon, the menace of nuclear weapon continues for a long time for the future generations. This is quite different from conventional weapon. So that means we have always have a fear. Our children, are they okay? How about our grandchildren? Without saying, survivors are living with such a fear within us without saying. And then, for instance, such a, having just a mere cold, always survivors think, is there any relationship to this, my daughter's cold does not get well? Is there any relations because of me? Always think like that. And this is the typical characteristic of a nuclear weapon. We can't see nuclear weapon, what will happen. We can't see and we can't smell, but there is a radiation. And it will destroy our future generations. Because of that, we shouldn't have a nuclear weapon anymore. And we do not want to tell our story, but we have to tell, having a dilemma and fighting in ourselves whether to tell or not to tell. But in spite of that, we have to tell because we survived. This is a responsibility of a survivor, because we know we are the representatives of the dead. So many people died in vain, so we have to tell on behalf of them. This is the reason I tell. This is the reason why I tell you. And please remember that we hope we shouldn't have such a horrible thing anymore in the future. Anywhere, all over the world, anywhere. Nuclear weapon means this is not the problem only of only one country, but under the mushroom cloud, everybody has the same menace. We can't escape the runaway from the menace of the mushroom under the mushroom cloud. So because of that, all of the country, all of the people from the world should think about that. We have the same destiny. So please, I want please you to share our experience and spread our pledge and our prayer that we won't have a nuclear weapon anymore on this world.